Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the October 19th regular meeting of council. Please ignore the lady running around in the front with the squeegee bottle. But I have a consent agenda for the minutes of the special meeting, minutes of regular meeting, and approval of the council meetings. I need a mover and a seconder for all three. Councillor Chandler, seconded by Councillor Patterson. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Delegations. We have two delegations tonight on the agenda. The first one will be, are we just about ready? Okay. The Oceanside Initiatives Regional Economic Development Update. So they'd like to You all set? Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present Oceanside Initiatives, our progress, and our plans forward to you. It's been my honor to carry out this project for the region over the last several months, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time to see us today. Since 2011, the Oceanside business community has been promoting the concept of regional economic development, which was when a coalition called Oceanside Initiatives was formed and led by the Parksville and District Chamber of Commerce. This partnership consisted of representatives from all of the organizations that you'll see here. And in 2014, the Qualicum First Nation and the News First Nation joined the partnership on various projects. So as you can see here, it's been a collaborative effort so far. These business community partners are clear in what they want. They would like a formal economic business development structure with cohesive regional collaboration, diversity, and relevance. And actions must align with all of the stakeholders in the community, full stop. So a little background. Together, these partners initiated a number of projects to establish a framework for growing and managing this concept. They included an assessment of the business and labor markets in the Oceanside region, a marketing strategy and strategic plan, and then in November of 2019, a memorandum of understanding between the partners was formally signed. And while both First Nation economic development offices and functions also agreed to sign on, we haven't been able to arrange that due to COVID-19. The partners' next step was to establish the Oceanside Initiatives Office to serve the region from Deep Bay and to Nanoose Bay. And in January of 2020, with funding provided by the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction's Community and Employer Partnership Fund, the Oceanside Initiatives Office opened, including an economic development project manager and 3 participants, all being provided with full-time work for the duration of the project. So far, over $400,000 has been invested to get us here by the MOU partners, the Regional District of Nanaimo, municipalities, and provincial grants, and we would really like the momentum to continue. With the office opened, it was time to put those plans into action. By using the collective vision of our business community partners and the assessments and strategic plans to guide us, the core priority was established to focus on business retention and expansion programs, which gives businesses already here in the community the tools they need to expand, develop, and succeed. And by doing so, we can harness the potential of the current business climate here today. Additionally, space within the Oceanside Initiatives Office was allocated to co-working office space with room for business incubation programs. Then, 4 weeks after our grand opening, business after business started closing their doors in accordance with the provincial regulations to prevent the COVID-19 spread. As economic impact of these closures began to take shape, Oceanside Initiatives was able to respond by assessing the needs of the business community, and we created a program called Rebound Oceanside to help reopen, adjust, and prepare for the future. Ultimately, we saved jobs and we reduced the negative economic impact of COVID-19 in the Oceanside area. Although Rebound Oceanside was not a program that we had planned, we were still able to fulfill our mandate by keeping businesses alive through the pandemic. It was clearly part of our core priority of business retention. We helped over 50 businesses rebound. We saved 28 full-time jobs and 3 businesses from imminent closure. We leveraged nearly every single dollar that we spent by sharing with the media, with the subject matter experts that we hired to work with the businesses, and with the businesses themselves that needed financial assistance. The Rebound program was able to inject over $90,000 in local spending into the Oceanside region during the crisis. We were able to build a database of all businesses in the region, and we're tracking commercial property for lease and sale, which we continue to clean and keep up to date in terms of closures, giving us the ability to measure the vacancy rate and benchmark the economic health of Oceanside. We've also been reaching out to businesses across all sectors to find out what's important to them so that we can start planning the programs and projects that they need to thrive. But we're not done. Our management model needs to be decided, an economic development vision incorporated into the official city plans, and a funding model established to create stability and continuity for economic prosperity of this region. How do we do that? Our strategy forward, Oceanside Initiatives now intends to complete our to-do list. Resume planning the business retention and expansion programs we were originally planning to deliver. Continue the work of the Rebound program so that we may assist during this second wave, and plan the projects that will benefit and assist our region's economic success. As well, all the projects that we do need to foster an economic culture that facilitates and promotes innovation, inspires creativity, and harnesses potential with respect to the environment and the diversity and values of our communities. Some of the strategies and programs that we would like to include, or we could include, helping to build economic infrastructure such as healthcare, childcare, transportation, affordable housing, and a viable labor force. Other programs could also include local training initiatives, local intelligence collection, and investor programs, and small and home-based business supports. As mentioned earlier, funds so far have come from the MOU partners, various grants from provincial government, local government, the RDN. Without these partners, we would not have been able to come this far. However, consistent economic development needs to move forward in a measured way so that Oceanside is able to grow thoughtfully and respectfully with the values of this community. Our project funding concludes in a few short months, and we're now looking to establish a long-term funding model by January. We've put together our budget recommendations. We've presented these to the town of Qualicum, and today we would like to share them with you. I'd like to now introduce Kim to discuss how to continue the momentum we've begun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. And thank you for allowing us to make this presentation. In order for us to move forward, we need the support from our 2 key municipalities, the town of Qualicum Beach and the city of Parksville. When we presented to the town of Qualicum Beach, they passed a motion that they would like a staff report, and that staff report would include some sitting down and consulting with Oceanside Initiatives, the Chambers of Commerce, so that we can come up with a reasonable formula, a reasonable model to make sure that this really vital piece of our community is able to continue on. So that's what we're asking now is for an opportunity to sit down with you in an informal way to discuss how we continue to move this project forward. And I'll take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Councillor Greer.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks for your presentation. Just a couple of questions. One being, I'm wondering how many businesses have not made it through the COVID and will maybe fold up. And the other question is, we have a number of already empty stores and new ones being built by the minute, I think. So I don't know what your plans are in bringing new businesses in to replace the ones that have either dropped out of sight or all of these new ventures in these buildings that are now being built for more retail.
So in terms of businesses that have closed, we're very fortunate. There were very few. The initial data that we had when we started collecting data at the beginning of the pandemic was that we were going to lose about 3% of our businesses, and that's the way it turned out. In terms of the current retail space availability, we are continually marketing that. We have regular meetings with people coming to the community. I received 2 emails last week from people that want to open businesses in this community and have asked us for some guidance to help them. So the market's alive. Will we be able to fill all of the existing commercial space in the next short while? Probably not. But I can say that there are new businesses that have opened during the pandemic that seem to be doing quite well. And we expect that to continue based on the inquiries that we're receiving right now.
Councillor O'Brien, then Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Mr. Burton. Thank you for your presentation today. Just a quick question to make sure that I kind of understand your, I guess, is your mission statement. You mentioned anyways that you're to encourage expansion and retention of businesses and so forth. And how about approaching new business? You just mentioned it quickly to Councillor Greer here anyways about approaching new businesses or new opportunities to locate to the Oceanside area. Do you also do that? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, we certainly do that. Our priority is expansion and retention because all of the information that we've gathered through the data that we've through the inquiries that we've made have indicated that we're not as ready for expansion, or sorry, for new businesses coming in as we are for expanding our existing businesses. Existing businesses have made a commitment to Parksville, and if we can help those businesses grow, then we can increase employment, and we can create that attractiveness to employees coming to the community. We did a labor market needs assessment. We know we have some issues there, and glad to see that the primary issue, which was housing, is starting to be resolved, particularly in Parksville. But in order to draw new businesses, I know that Mayor Main will agree with me, there's some other things that we need to do. We need to increase our amenities. We need to improve some of the other pieces of the community. It's not enough to say that we live in a beautiful place. There are beautiful places everywhere. And we're in a very competitive market. We compete with the rest of North America for sure, and in some cases, the rest of the world. I'm working with a company right now that wants to bring a school teaching digital artwork to digital arts to the community. We're competing with Langford. I think we're winning the competition based on the conversations that I've had with this company. And that will bring not only jobs, but it'll also bring expertise to our community in an area of tech that is really, really well needed and will have minimal impact on the community in terms of the space they require, the emissions, those kinds of things. So these are all things that we work on a daily, weekly basis. As I said earlier, we're getting a lot of inquiries. I've got a team coming up from Nanaimo tomorrow who are interested in development and want to know what the atmosphere and what the environment is like here. So there's lots of inquiries, there's lots of movement. It's not a short game, it's a long game.
Follow up. Thank you, Your Worship. And Kim, when you mentioned that, you, especially in your chamber position, are well aware of the amount of housing that has been increasing greatly, and what's on the books as well is coming forth even more. It's been a huge increase, which in turn is actually bringing in people, and that's one of the goals, is to provide the housing, but also to encourage people to locate in Parksville. With that in mind, most businesses that I know, new businesses and so forth, will be looking at, they base it strictly on amenities. Yes, can play a partner, but very much so as they say, what's the population and what's the demographics, and we'll decide whether we're going to open up a business at that time. What I'm suggesting now is that I think we've demonstrated that with our commitment to providing more apartment housing and housing in general, we're getting to those numbers where those new businesses would be very considered to look at Parksville, because we can now have the numbers to support their business. So I'm somewhat a little bit surprised that you're not really going after some new businesses. Like as a counselor, I hear often dealing in town type of thing and walking around seeing residents and so forth. They say, Parksville's great, everything's going well. We wish you had one of these. And I won't name the businesses. We wish you had one of this. You wish you had one of those. I say, it'll come, but it's got to be viable for the business, to open up here type of thing. And what that means is viable. They have to make a profit. And that profit is made by the people. I think we're providing the people and the housing to do it. I think that maybe the businesses that aren't aware of what Parksville's been going through, the boom that we've gone through, I think that they need a little twig anyways, because I think it's going to be helpful to everybody. And as we know, then that attracts more businesses as that goes on, because everybody wants a piece of that. It's just my comment. I was just surprised that you weren't going after much new business as what I would have thought with what's gone on in Parksville the last 2 years.
The customer you have is way more valuable than the customer that you have to reach out to over and over and over again to get. And we believe that it's our primary role, not our only role, but our primary role to work with the businesses that are here now to help them to grow, and also to look for new business. But the primary role, as we stated earlier, was expansion and retention. And as I said earlier, we're receiving calls on a regular basis from people that want to move here and want to locate a business here, and we're certainly assisting them.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chandler, then Councillor Fraz.
Thank you, Worship. Through your Worship to the delegation, to Kim, and thank you for your presentation. It was great. I have a couple of things I just wanted to mention. Just in respect to small business right now, is there anything in play for the chamber specifically in regards to some relief for people when they can't afford to pay their bills to get your memberships? Like, just so that the support's still there, is that something that's going on right now?
Yeah, in terms of chamber membership, yeah, we've offered to take payment on a monthly basis, $18 a month. In the past, we've done that, but we've always charged a bit of a processing fee because it's extra work for the bookkeeper. We've waived that, so we've offered that. And we've always been relatively generous in terms of 30 days, 90 days, 120 days. Sure. We leave people on the books in hopes that they will continue to take advantage of the opportunities that the chamber gives.
That's great. That's great to hear. I mean, especially for small businesses right now, they're all struggling a bit. So yep, that's great. My hat's off to you on that.
As Corey mentioned, the Oceanside Rebound Program was put in play to help people with those additional expenses and to provide some expert advice through our panel of experts.
Sure. And if I could follow up,
Please,
Mayor. Yeah. So in regards to that, with chamber being a big part of this piece, and all businesses, everybody that was mentioned earlier, being a large piece of this whole puzzle. I like what I see. I think it's something really good. I guess I wonder, we're sort of overlapping with what the PDBA does for the businesses in this area, 300 plus businesses. Has there been any conversations with connection with them and maybe assuming them and turning them into one organization in combination? Just as a question.
An interesting question that I won't answer.
Thank you.
They are partners with us in terms of Oceanside initiatives. They signed on to the MOU. We work with them on a regular basis. We have different mandates. I'll leave it there.
did you have a follow-up? I did. Quickly.
Thank you. And with that being said, are you here for an ask today? Is that what's going on?
No, we want to sit down with you. We would like to be considered as a line item in your budget, right, but we want to sit down with you to determine what that looks like.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fraz and Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, through the mayor, to Kim. First, just want to say thanks to Corey for the presentation and for you, Kim, coming out here today. Here, to me, this is, I hear a lot of success in this when you talk about 28 full-time jobs being saved in our community, and as well 3 businesses from closing down. was trying to keep notes at the same time as listening, so I think I missed a couple of these things, but you mentioned that there was a database of all businesses in the area. I'm wondering if you're also keeping track of the business spaces, the vacancies of areas. Was that mentioned there
Yeah,
too?
we're creating a database of empty space so that when people come knocking, we know where to direct them.
As well too, I heard you guys talking about issues like childcare and local training initiatives happening. I know that you're not the only group that is working on those types of issues. There's the Early Learning Childcare Council Oceanside. There's also places like the Career Center here in town for training initiatives and that. Are you working with those other groups as well to see how you guys can complement and work together for those issues?
Yeah, we certainly work a lot with the Career Center. They are part of this project in terms of it's a job creation project that they monitor for us, and they're our next door neighbors. I did sit on the early childhood group for a short period of time, but I communicated with them that when they need something, contact me. I'm happy to help. Too many meetings, too little time.
No, I mean, with one more.
Please.
And this is perhaps what I might have missed too, when I was taking notes there. With those 3 businesses that you guys saved from closing, I'm curious if you could expand kind of how you were able to help businesses from closing their doors here.
How were we able to help?
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey's probably better prepared to answer that.
We'd much prefer listening to Corey anyway, so.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
So the 3 businesses that we saved from imminent closure was financial assistance. So it came down to some of the small businesses in terms of after being closed and not having customers for 3 months, not being able to pay rent, and having landlords that really couldn't afford for them not to pay rent. And so by the time everything came down to it, they needed to pay 3 months of rent, and we were there to help bridge that gap. That was one of them. One of them was they were no longer able to do their business without proper cleaning equipment. And the cleaning equipment was $10,000. And so we were able to share cost with them because our program was up to $5,000 of matching funds. So we were able to come up with the cleaning machines that they needed to continue. And I think another business was putting up the plexiglass and all of that stuff. They just couldn't afford it, and they weren't allowed to open without it. So we helped them with that.
Thanks very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'm kind of looking at the last slide and the investment aspect. So when it says revenue of 300,000, that was what you brought in, and this is what you've spent is the other additional 300,000. And that is, but back a little bit, I think it was 400 was the initial.
So we've invested $400,000 in economic development over the last several years.
Okay.
That $400,000 has come from a variety of sources, mostly grants. The $300,000 is a projected annual cost, and we're looking again at significant sharing. We're certainly not looking for, we're looking for approximately half of that from local government. And again, we don't know what the formula is, and so I don't want to etch anything in stone. We want to sit down and we want to figure out a way to make sure that this keeps on rolling. We have had indications from our MOU partners that they're prepared to commit. The Chamber Board have made it very clear that they're prepared to commit. So it's not just local government we're looking for funding from.
Just follow up. So your ask is to have a conversation with council, and then perhaps a line item or a budget in our budget, which is moving forward next month, actually.
That's correct. That's why we're here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Greer, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment. Over the last several years, a lot of business is now being done online. And it seems that this in the future will affect the small retailer even that much more. what type of thing have you got planned to combat that?
Loosely,
Um,
we're somewhat confidential still, but we do have a plan.
Yeah, so through the Rebound Program, we worked closely with Innovation Island. Innovation Island had a program called DER3, which was Digital Economic Recovery. And they did all the assessment for businesses that were planning to go digital. So they took those, we gave them the information, connected them with DER3. They went through the assessment program, and then the implementation of those plans came to us. And it became very clear right away to us that businesses were able to pivot and go online, but they can't fulfill the orders. And so the reason they can't fulfill them is that the delivery system in a rural area isn't the same as it is in Vancouver. And so we have an opportunity, is the way I like to see it, to bridge that gap for businesses. And we have a plan that we can't divulge to you right now, but it is a good plan that we're getting a lot of traction and some interest from certain funders in the community. So we'll see how that goes, but that's our plan.
Councillor Greer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one other question. I know is on the finances. You have in general administration 60,000, I believe, and salaries 143,000, is it? That's half your budget. Where does that money go to?
Salary and wages and general administration is, I know it seems high when you look at this if you're thinking about a business that is providing a goods, but in an administrative business, this is fairly typical to be about 40% or 45% of your wages, because that is paying for the programs that we put in place. So general administration would be programs, putting money into programs, whatever those programs may be.
Do you have paid staff?
Yes, that would be salary and wages, and that would be, that's based on 3.5 staff.
Is that through the chamber?
We would be under the umbrella of the Chamber of Commerce, yes. So Oceanside Initiatives would be a separate entity, arm's length.
Yeah, it seems high to me that half your budget is on wages and administration, but anyways, that's good, thank you.
Councillor Chandler? And we're going to try to get it wrapped up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Through the mayor, just a delegation again. And I just wanted to know, you mentioned about a database for local business. I had a customer, I think, or somebody on Facebook was asking on Buy Local Oceanside where they can get a list of customers and businesses, I should say. I was told that the chamber wouldn't necessarily be able to give businesses unless you were a member. But is there a database that the public can access to see who's available here in town?
We have to watch out for privacy laws in terms of information that we give out. The city has a business license list. I don't know how public that is. I think it's online, is it not? So the city has a business license list. We give, in order to deal with the various privacy laws, we will sell our membership list in the form of mailing labels for $25, which covers the cost of the labels. But again, we have to be careful about what kind of information we provide to individuals. And all of the information on our members is on our website. It's just not downloadable.
Okay, so you can, pardon me, you can access that information. Yep. So if somebody was to go on your website, they could see all of the members. I guess what my further to that is, you know, we're looking after the whole economic area here now. So I guess it's what if they aren't members? And my question being, where does people find the information on those particular businesses? And are we looking to do more to make sure people know what businesses are in our towns?
So we have a list.
Areas.
And again, we don't give it out because of privacy concerns. Yes, we could have a look at, see how we could make that available to people. I'm not sure, but certainly willing to look at it.
quickly.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Just in the purpose of just trying to going into a winter time with a quieter time, I think it'd be great for people to know who is here and especially a lot of new people moving into the area. I think that's something that we'd love to see. I would for sure. So as a business person, so thank you.
Councillor Wilson, they tell me your hand is up. I can't see it, but they tell me it is, so there you go.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. It has been up for a while. I do have a question for you, Kim. You mentioned increasing amenities as something that to stimulate more growth here for bringing businesses in. Do you have any idea of what sort of amenities? Do you have any in mind? Have you heard back from businesses what they'd like to see here?
Well, what we've heard over the years from people that were making decisions about coming here was that they wanted more things that would suit their employees who tend to be young families. I don't have a list of what those are, but it's not enough to say that we've got beautiful hiking trails and lovely beaches. There are beautiful hiking trails and lovely beaches everywhere in all coastal communities. We need more. What that more is, I'm not young anymore. I don't know. But I've heard that people would like a place where they can actually go in the evening that's open. There are people that have, when you're raising young kids, you want to make sure that they have, I ran football in Nanaimo for years, and people got tired of driving from Parksville down to Nanaimo for their kids to play football. So sporting activities, all of those sorts of things, we need to up our game and provide the best that we can.
Thank you.
Councillor Frass?
Thank you. Through the mayor to Kim, just a quick question here. I'm not sure I quite understood when you were answering Councillor Chandler about privacy concerns about releasing a list of businesses in the community. How is that? I can't understand how there'd be a privacy concern about letting people know what businesses are here.
We can let people know what businesses are here. It's just a matter of I'm not sure how much information, phone numbers, email addresses, those sorts of things that we can give out. Go ahead.
So part of our outreach to businesses, we've got over 2,000 businesses in our database, and we've been systematically going through them and getting their express permission to share the information. So as soon as we've gone through that entire process, we'll know exactly which businesses. So when we do get a request for which businesses are out there, we'll be able to share. And we are letting them know that that's one of the reasons that we would like to have that information so that we can share with new residents of and other businesses that are here who's actually out there.
Thank you. Then I'd be surprised for any business that would not want to keep their information secret out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody questioned out? Fair enough.
Thank you.
Hold on. The chair gets to speak now. So when we first all came to power here 2 years ago in a few weeks, one of the things that we looked at was economic development. It became one of the 5 priorities that were given through the mayor's roundtable was economic development. At that point in time, we recognized that you can't, it's kind of like a chicken and eggs theory. And I'm agreeing with you, Kim, on this, and the fact that you can't go out and attract new businesses without having the people to work in those new businesses. And we don't, and we still don't. We're working on it. It's getting closer. But I think if you went around this table and asked the people that are in business and what their employment facts are like, it's pretty deplorable, even as we speak. But, we've made a concerted effort to increase housing. We've added 900 units into the city, rental units into the city, or we will have added 900 rental units. Right now, we're, probably at the 200 or 300 level as far as that goes coming on stream. We're we're doing amenities. We're looking at things like swimming pools. We're looking at outdoor theaters. We're looking at all the other things that will give those people things to do in the evenings and on the weekends. And you're absolutely right. The idea of saying we got great trails and great beaches lasts about 38 seconds, and then they want to find something else to do. So we need to make sure that we can provide that so we can attract people, so that we can give, we can have employees for these new jobs. Just to give you a real quick analysis of this, between the ages of 25 and 55 years old, which is your employment factor, there are 24.1% of the population. In the province of British Columbia, it's 44 point something percent. So we have a significantly reduced number to begin with. And if you go through the math of all of this, it ended up just prior to COVID, there were only 85 people in the whole city that were unemployed in that age group. So you look at it and you go, where would we get if an employer come in and said, I want to add 50 employees, where would they get that many people? And so that's a problem and something we have to do. So we have to work on continue to work on increasing not necessarily the population, but reducing the demographics of the city. It'll be interesting to see when the next census comes out as to how we're doing on that level, but also increasing the size of the workforce, and so that we can go to it. It's a very difficult thing to go out and start looking for employers and new businesses. And the first question they're going to ask is, what's your employee base? And you say, well, it's not all that good. So I recognize the fact. Anyways, I just wanted to make those points because I think it's not as easy as just going out and going to work fairs and things like that to say, let's attract new businesses. We've got to have all of the stuff under the foundation which I think this council has done a really good job of providing so far. We still got a long ways to go, but we're working at it, and hopefully that will contribute greatly to the economic development as we go forward. Anyways, thank you very much for your time. I appreciated the input. We will talk to you very soon. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. We have to lower the average age and raise the average wage.
Yeah. Thank you. My goodness. And our next delegation, as soon as we're finished spraying down the desk for you, Nigel, we'll be ready to go. It is a mic.
I'm going to keep my mask on out of respect for all the servers who've been giving me beer for the last couple of months. I think I can probably manage, and if I'm not talking loud enough, please just yell back at me. I will be very brief today. This is just an introduction to our proposed zoning amendment, rezoning, as we say, for 480 and 490 Island Highway West. You can see the property here. It is bordered by Finholm and the Island Highway. There is actually a frontage piece on Finholm as well as the Island Highway. The frontage piece belongs to this property. In the end, they will become one as a part of a future development. Across the street is Family Place, and directly across Finholm is Windward's other development, which is the 30-lot, small lot development with the townhouse component. So there's a developer that is active in our community. Just down the street is Radcliffe's development. Proposed development at 440 Island Highway, which includes a multi-family component at the back end and a mixed-use component at the front. Continuing down Dogwood, There is a new multifamily development here as well, similar to what we're proposing. So there's a lot of buildings of a similar type going up in the area. This is the Travel Lodge, and you know the Bayside. Currently zoned RS1 single family, pretty straightforward. You all know what that is. You can see it here in situ. So there are a few RS1 lots left along the highway frontage. Obviously not the highest and best use for that kind of infrastructure. So we are proposing something aligned with the OCP. You can see this area is kind of becoming a transition between tourist commercial, downtown commercial, and those more primarily residential areas to the west. So the OCP spells out this area as mixed use, bracket tourist commercial. It allows quite a few things. In this case, we saw this as an opportunity to build in some of those adaptive planning frameworks we have on other projects, meaning to include residential, tourist commercial, and a seniors component to this, so that it can be any or all of those things, rather than locking into a single land use silo. You can see here, this is the OCP map, and we are right in that mixed use tourist commercial area, and other projects along this way are developing out in the same way. So eventually this will become part of the framework of the Island Highway and basically a unified whole, hopefully within our lifetimes. I should have pointed out, this is Mark's Nature Park in behind, which is a really nice piece of civic infrastructure for all these multifamily developments. So it's a borrowed space that they can use that's right at their doorstep. On this one, we had the architect prepare a little bit more detailed rendering because this is an actual proposed build. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to get built. You never know what the economy is going to do, but this is one that's buildable on the site based on the geotechnical constraints, the setbacks, proposed unit sizes, and that type of thing. So it's a 31 unit proposal as our proof of concept. This one incorporates 22 bedroom units and 11 one bedroom units. All of these can be any of the above, so they can be purely residential, they can be rented out as tourist commercial, or this could be developed as a purely seniors facility in the end. Quick site plan just to see the way it would work. With respect to the Island Highway, we didn't want to create more driveways on the Island Highway, so this effectively eliminates 2 property driveways from the Island Highway with access off Finholm. You come in off Finholm, surface parking oriented with a turnaround for fire trucks in the center. We may need a pass through or other technical details so a fire truck can get right through onto the highway with a knockdown bollard, but the intent is not to have a driveway on the highway, just to mitigate the traffic congestion along that corridor. Beards don't go well with masks. But it's just a little vignette of what the 4-story building could look like. This is a buildable building based on our constraints, as I said. So you can see it's quite a nice building with the sloped roof architecture that is envisioned in the OCP and the development permit area guidelines. So the proposed zoning is a CD30, and the only reason we didn't go straight for an RHD4 zone, which is the template developed by staff that's been employed on Dogwood and in Garwins as well. Garwins is actually a CD as well. The heights are the same, the setbacks are the same. The only difference is that we're accommodating tourist accommodation and the seniors component. So in terms of community benefit, I keep skipping ahead on me. It's Wi-Fi. In terms of providing an amenity on this project, we are proposing our typical $800 a unit to the fire department. That's a 31 unit concept, which results in $24,800. The other component of this is that we are addressing community needs. So this project is aligned directly with the policies of the OCP, and it provides an adaptive form of housing that doesn't currently exist. It may once 1180 Resort is built, but this is another one of those special type of planning solutions for our area, specific to our resort context. My only request today is that you pass first reading and direct us to proceed to second, and possibly a public information meeting or open house. I say possibly just because I haven't figured out how it's going to work yet, given the current situation. So it is our intent to do that, but if we can't find a way to make it work viably, then we will contact staff and discuss that at that time. That is my presentation. I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the delegation? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Nigel. Thanks for your presentation, Nigel, for coming again. Well informed as always. The thing is that I understand that the drawings are provided. They're proof of concept only is what they're to be regarded as there. So what we see there isn't necessarily what we're going to get.
No, and we're always very, very clear because
Right.
neither you or I want to have to be responsible for that not getting built. So development permit will come, and as the chair of the design panel, I can tell you we're pretty strict on developments coming through right now. So
Thank you.
expect
Thank
a
you.
second review.
And then the question revolves around the zoning amendment, which is a comprehensive development here. One of the options is for apartment use, apartment residential, and the other option is for senior care use, and the other option is for tourism use. And it's also, as identified in the OCP, is like a transitionary area in between the RS1s that are not far away of the new builds, just west of this development. So I got to be quite frank, I'm not a big fan of your including in your comprehensive development inclusion for tourism as a possibility. And I'll just address the tourism first because the tourism would indicate that it's going to be just for tourists coming in, and it's not going to provide a stable populace anyways that's going to benefit our community, which I think was what we really need at this particular point. I think that we needed, as the mayor has mentioned anyways, we need a base for employment, and the apartments would definitely do that. The tourism would not. The other thing is that, not to mention the tourism also would have to find some employees too, which is, they're having a hard time for us right now. So I have a hard time with the tourism being part of that comprehensive development. I also have a hard time with the seniors care at that. And to be quite frank, in my personal opinion, we have enough. We have enough seniors care right now in our area. And I believe that it's important that we establish apartment housing. So I can see putting apartment housing in RS1 zone being defensible, because we're providing housing for those very people that we want to fill our labor market right now. Seniors aren't going to do that. And the thing is that as far as I'm concerned, I really believe that we have to, as council, be proactive and say, if you want to change this zoning, then you have to give us what we actually know that we need for our community. I understand you're doing this by just to create options for the developer. And I get that. I get that very much. But at the same time, I also have to give direction that I would prefer to be apartments, quite frankly, and delete the tourism or the seniors care facility. That's my personal opinion, Nigel. So.
Sure, I have a few comments. It is primarily intended to be multifamily. In this case, the way it's designed in our proof of concept is in no way guarantees what will actually get built there. The idea is to have lock-off portions of the units in that snowbirds, who are still a big part of our demographic, could downsize, take one of these units, go down to Arizona if that still exists after the election, and spend 6 months there. In that case, they'd actually lock off their bedroom and ensuite and put their personal items in there. The intent is not to create a hotel, so we could create restrictions around that to lock it in so it's not a hotel, that the primary use is intended to be residential if that's the desire of the balance of council. But in all cases in zoning these days, we're trying to keep it adaptive so people don't have to come back and get a rezoning, especially during times like COVID, where quite frankly, a lot of these commercial uses may have benefited. The island's a pretty special animal right now from having that flexibility to go to long-term rental. Had there been a big gap in our tourism market, I mean, we're pretty special, so we survive, but globally, we're heading towards a more adaptive framework.
I understand.
That's all.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship, through Your Worship. Thank you, Nigel, for your presentation. I also have some concerns about a rezoning and a totally new rezone, because we do have zoning in place for tourism. We do have zoning in place for care homes. So, and my other concern is that you did mention that this may not get built. So at this time, you're coming forward to make a rezoning application. you would think that perhaps the developer would have a clear idea of which direction he wants to go in before he makes an application for a rezone. Can you address that?
Sure. This is what the developer intends to build right now. It is a buildable project that we've vetted with our architect and professional engineers. So should the economy not tank, this will get built. If it does, developer may choose to not do it right now and may table for a while. We can't guarantee those things in development business. So that's why we keep it adaptive.
Follow up?
Yeah, please.
Yes, so, all right, that's fair enough that, but I guess my other question to you is, I'm trying to understand how it would work that you want such a broad spectrum between care and what that might mean, and tourism and apartments. I know you mentioned lock-off, and that would be similar to what some of the beach club, I think, have lock-off units, or some of the units in the tourist area have those. So there would be a zoning for that. So can you perhaps go into a little more detail about what it is that the developer is really trying to build here? Is he trying to incorporate all three elements of apartment, tourism, and care home, or just one or the other? And if it is only one or the other, which direction is he leaning in?
Right now, he's leaning in the direction of primary residential with the ability to rent them out on a short-term basis when the owner is not there. I could go on, but I'm not going to, about the limited stay restrictions on the tourist commercial properties proper. We're dealing with quite a few of those now, and it quite frankly does not work, putting a stay restriction on that type of unit. This is a totally different animal. So there's no front desk here. These are owner-operated units. There's no intention for this to operate like a hotel or a typical commercial facility. So yeah, the basic intent is to develop an apartment building, and the awesome part of it is that you can actually rent out your unit when you're not there in a legitimate scheme where it's not an Airbnb that's breaking the rules. So here we are creating a template for that to happen on other sites. So when it comes to a bylaw perspective, I know it's not such a big deal here, but in other communities we're working with on the West Coast, short-term rental is a big deal, and there's a lot of illegal rentals out there. So this is a template we've applied there, and we are trying to apply in the RDN as well. And we could have an offline conversation about all the ramifications of that and why it hasn't worked since the 1990s. But I really do believe in the adaptive framework approach. And if I was buying a unit, I'd want to have the ability for it to be all of these things. So the building that you saw is very likely the building that will get built in terms of form and character. Whether that's residential only or not is really going to be up to the strata. And whether that gets converted down the road into a seniors facility due to the need, that's another thing that you might want to keep in mind. So we don't want to be running to catch up with rezonings in the future when all those uses are viable and appropriate to the site. And in this case, we included them not just because we think it's a good idea, but because that is the vision and policy direction of the OCP currently. We may need an OCP amendment to not include the tourist component of it.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thank you, through the mayor, to Nigel. Thanks for coming in for this. I like seeing that there's some plans now for this property here too, and without repeating too much of what I heard from Councillor Brian Wilson, a couple of points I want to say is I really appreciate the driveway access being off of the main street. I think the uniqueness of this property, having the two frontages provides, that's a great opportunity there, and some I really appreciate. One thing I have a question about, I know you didn't mention it, so it's just kind of like an idea kind of stage of this kind of properties. We talk about being potentially for snowbirds and this type of thing. You guys have any kind of ideas floating around about having light exercise rooms or that kind of like multi-amenity space?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
someplace you see like having hot tubs involved. I know you don't have staff in there, but how that might work into it as well. Things like car share programs, then if it's going to be, you know, maybe a vehicle common to the people that are using the building. Yeah.
Yeah, a great question. So a lot of the reason why this is only 31 units is because a big part of the center of each floor is dedicated to storage for e-bikes and that kind of thing. So we do see these people needing a lot of long-term storage, and storage has come up a lot in most of the projects we work on the island because people are coming here and downsizing, and the apartment buildings don't have sufficient storage for someone moving from a single family home in North Van and then moving into an 800 square foot apartment. So yes, there's a huge storage component to this. There are shared spaces on the bottom floor, I believe. And if you look here, and these are, like I said, it's proof of concept, but we did prove everything could fit. You can see there is a outdoor dining space already set up, and there's a place for raised beds and a community garden, should they choose to go that way. All these things will be talked about at development permit, with the exception of the interior layout. So I just thought I'd convey that to you. So yeah, there's a huge storage component to this. You could go underground and make it work more, but the geotechnical on this site isn't perfect. So it would be quite an expensive underground.
All right, thank you. Nice to know that those kind of thoughts are out there and
That's kind of the way it's going, honestly.
cheers, thanks.
Councillor Chandler?
Thank you through the mayor to Nigel. Thank you, Nigel, for coming in. Building looks great. And usually a question that Councillor Fraz asks, so I'm just going to ask for him as well, is the e-chargers for vehicles, for cars. Is that something that's in the plan?
It's not, because we're not detailed that far yet, but
Right.
pretty much everything has EV chargers in it, or it's
Okay.
pre-ducted for EV charges. So anybody who's buying a unit now really wants to have those two wires sitting at the end of their stall. Something, I won't get into it. In an island,
Sure.
we're doing shared charges that kind of roll along, so you can serve 10 cars and that kind of thing. But
That's a
Yeah.
cool idea.
yeah, the world's going that way. By 2040, we're all going to be buying electric, so
Yeah.
it'd
Okay,
be
thank
crazy
you.
not to put it in there. Yeah.
Good work.
Councillor O'Brien?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just me again talking about the financial implication here. So the thing is that recognize the fact that if you get the comprehensive development rezoning anyways with all three possibilities, as we mentioned anyways previous, basically without even requesting a development permit, and once you get all three readings on this development or this zoning change. So the property, as per our staff has indicated, that it's currently assessed at $670,000. Just by getting these new zoning amendments through anyways on it, the value would increase to $1,060,000 by current valuation estimates. So it would be an increase of land value of $390,000 without any development going through and without any new possible owner or so forth actually understanding what council has mentioned to you today, because they haven't been part of the history anyways. So that concerns me somewhat, but I understand. My point being is that the fact that you're probably considering all three of those different possibilities because it makes them more possibly sellable.
Sure, at this time or another time,
Right.
possibly.
Exactly. And I get that. So basically this could be like, we don't have a guarantee that this property is not going to flip 2 days after the rezoning is put through.
No, but I can speak to that. So Parksville does a very intelligent thing, and that is requiring offsite works at the time of rezoning, which doesn't prevent speculation, but certainly gets those costs for infrastructure paid upfront for the rise in use. So there is a cost there. There's a line item for that.
Right.
And there isn't a community amenity contribution. It is not as much as it could have been on this project, and I didn't really want to get into this, but cost overruns across the street on Finholm due to some of the downloaded upstream infrastructure has kind of limited our ability to do that on this project. So this developer is actually contributing much more than in this document that they hadn't anticipated on their development across the street. So in this case, I think it's a pretty fair package that's being presented to the city. It's also meeting the needs of the OCP. So it's three things: your frontage works, your cash contributions to the fire department, and meeting the housing choice need for the community.
Right.
So in this case, that's what it is. Other projects I've worked on have brought more to the table. The value was higher in the uplift on those ones. And of course, you're not going to capture all of the uplift in a community amenity. It'll be a portion of it.
Right.
I think it'd be really great if you guys did a community amenity contribution policy, so it was just set in stone what we would do on projects, but conversations for another day.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you for that comment. I happen to agree with you on that for amenities contributions. But having said that, we're looking at a rezoning here. We're not looking at a development permit. We're not looking at what all the details are on the piece of property. We're looking at a rezoning. The OCP actually says that this is the kind of use that is required or is more wanted for this. That's good English. More wanted for this lot than anything else. And it does mention tourism. It does mention residential. It does mention senior, if I'm not mistaken. So they're all there. I believe that a developer needs to have that flexibility, especially with the number of units that have come on board over the last while. They have to be able to do something a little bit different in order to make these units viable. So I think that this makes some sense in my mind. Again, I'm going back to, it's a rezoning. It's not, we don't want to be getting into, move the bush here and change the driveway there at this point in time. We'll get our shot at that in the next little while when the development permit comes up for it. So I just leave it at that. Anyways, are there any other questions for the delegation? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell, from way back there. Sure, reminds me of that. Yeah.
I'm going to be brief, as a lot was presented in the PowerPoint presentation by the proponent. We've received this rezoning for 480 and 490 Island Highway West. The property is within the official community plan under the mixed-use tourist commercial designation. The proposed zoning change will facilitate a flexibility of uses, including tourist accommodation, multifamily residential, and senior-oriented uses. And the recommendations are as per the agenda.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Greer, second by Councillor Patterson. Discussion. Councillor Greer, you're up first.
No, I have no discussion. I think this is an ideal situation, and at this point, I certainly approve it.
Councillor Patterson.
I somewhat echo Councillor Greer. I do appreciate that we had the presentation prior to this this report coming forward, and I look forward to the future. Let's see what it'll be.
Any other comments? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just echo pretty well my comments previous. I would certainly approve this rezoning if it alluded and was amended to include apartment use only. With the other two in there, I cannot support it as it stands.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Frass.
Thank you. And to Mayor Council, I agree with Councillor Bryan with what he has to say about this. Aside from, I'd like to also hear from the public, get their feedback before I would make up my mind on how everything goes, of course. So I'm going to support it through this stage of it.
Thank you. Anybody else? That is in fact the case. It will go to the public immediately after this reading, first and second reading. It will go for public input at that point in time. I'm asking.
If I may, Worship, it'll actually, if the proponent is able to host a public open house, it will go to initial public engagement through the developer. And then after second reading, then yes, it would go to public hearing.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. All right. Any other comments? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? I acknowledge Councillor O'Brien and Councillor Wilson are opposed. Thank you. It's carried. Mr. Russell, 119 Moilliet.
Certainly, if I may, Worship, for council consideration is a development permit that will, if approved, facilitate the inclusion of perimeter fencing, individual courtyard fencing, and some minor landscaping adjustments to an existing 16-unit townhouse development that is actively under construction. Effectively, approval of this development permit will amend the landscaping plan of development permit number 18 PDP 069. As part of this permit, there's a minor relaxation required to facilitate individualized courtyard fencing. This appears to have arisen as a request to the prospective owners for improvements to the landscaping of the property. The recommendation is as per the agenda.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Greer, second by Councillor Chandler. Discussion? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to Blaine, if I may. Blaine, I noticed that the original plan called for what they called unobstructed usable space, and a landscaping deposit of roughly $87,000 was put in play anyways for this plan. In that unobstructed usable space landscaping plan, was a plan for like just grass and trees and that type of thing, or was there any, or was that just part of the landscaping proposal at that time because they hadn't considered that fencing may be.
If I may, Your Worship, through to Councillor O'Brien, the main difference is really those individual courtyards. So rather than being an open lawn and landscaped area, in order to facilitate individual yards essentially for each townhouse, that's what the primary change is.
Okay, and then as a follow-up, so I noticed that the units themselves, anyways, the units facing the residential area and behind already have fences up and constructed. So out of 16 units, 16 townhouses, I would say there's probably 7 that have fences already up. So is this kind of after the fact, or is that just allowing for the fact that they want to put the fences on all around all the townhouses? Like they're it's a triangle shaped development in this case.
I'm not sure on the specific on-site circumstances, so I don't know the details on that.
Okay, where I'm going is always, you know, like usually if a landscaping plan is put in place that has fences in it type of thing, they allow for the plans I've seen, they say like trees here, trees there, trees there.
Yes.
Everybody knows Councillor O'Brien's all about trees now. So the thing is that all that I was hoping to do was with this particular development, I have no problem with the fences. They make total sense, and I understand the privacy and safety. I get it, and that's a good idea. All that I would hope is if there's possibly trees were going to go into that unobstructed area, I would hope that, I'm not suggesting that every one of the 16 units has a tree. That would be over the top. But like every 4th unit or something like that has trees in it. That's all I'm suggesting. It would make a better development, and it would also, you know, that used to be a tree lot, as all. Everything was in this town at one time. But the thing is, it would get some of the tree canopy back in that little area there. And I don't know if that was presented to you or not. So that was my.
I know there's, I'd have to look at the plan again. I know there's, it's more than just fences. They are putting landscaping improvements in. And actually, she can see on the plan primarily on Morrison, you can see a number of trees. This is on page, where's the page numbering gone?
39 to 51.
It's kind of on the, I guess it's,
I think it was in the sustainable.
you can on the perimeter of the site, you can certainly see trees on both roads, like facing both roads on Moilliet Street and Morrison. There are smaller shrubs and plantings sort of along the sides.
Right. I think it's just as long as the message gets back to the developer that, you know, this is a great project, and the landscaping that's there already is fantastic. I have to say, he's done a beautiful job. So the thing is that I would just hope that you, with this fencing, will not preclude the planting of trees, which would be.
I can certainly pass along that you would be happy to see more trees.
I'm always happy. Thank you.
Could I make a suggestion? Because I happen to agree with Councillor O'Brien on this. Could we just not make it that the landscaping, the revised landscaping plan has no less trees than what was originally proposed from the, and if they have to find a place to put an odd tree that it won't fit in where they're doing, they can find someplace else on the lot to put it.
If I may, Worship, you could certainly make that a term of permit amendment to the development permit to add that as a term of permit. Just looking at the plans, we do have both pages, and a quick flip back and forth does not appear to suggest that there has been a loss of trees over the plan.
If we just make that as part of the conditional for the approval, I think that solves the problem, does it not? Okay. Could I get the mover and seconder? Councillor Greer, could I get you to agree to that amendment? And okay, so they have it. Friendly amendment. There we go. Problem solved. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship. I live quite close to this development. So there is some new plantings and it's a really quite a nice display of color and shrubbery and some new trees. So I do know that at some point in time, they'll get bigger and that too. So I expect that it will definitely improve in time.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
My apologies, I didn't push the button. I was calling for the question. All those in favor of the, so yes. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I apologize for not letting you hear me. It's carried. Thank you. Moving on. So we've got bylaws now. Bylaws first reading and development amendment bylaw to 2020 number 2000.130 map and text amendment to comprehensive development CD 30 at 480 and 490 Island Highway West. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Fraz. Thank you. Discussion. We talked this one just a few minutes ago. So all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, and we have Councillor Wilson and Councillor O'Brien indicating opposing. Thank you. Final adoption bylaw offense notice enforcement amendment bylaw 2020 number 1486.11 amendments to designated bylaw contraventions and penalties and screening officer positions. And number 2 is permissive tax exemptions. Are we going to do those together? Can we do those together? Okay, we can do those together as final adoptions for number 1 and number 2. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Greer, second by Councillor O'Brien. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Does anybody have a notice of motion? Any notices of motion? Moving right along. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. At this point in time, if I could do a notice of motion related to the delegation this morning, or sorry, not this morning, at the beginning of this meeting, and that with the Oceanside initiatives, to bring it back to staff to see if we can have an informal discussion with council to see about moving their project forward and into budget stage.
I need a sec. Oh, no, we're just moving. Notice of motions. Very good. So for the next meeting. Thank you. Are there any others? Fair enough. New business? Anybody have any new business? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to mention in regards to us as well with the Chamber of Commerce, October would normally be the gala, and it is one of their major fundraisers for the Chamber of Commerce. So that will be going forward in an online type auction and such, and that's October 26th, and it's slated as All That Glitters. So for those of you that are chamber members or have got the invitation to bid, and that I welcome bidders.
Thank you. Anything else? New business? All right. Going in, just before we proceed to special business, I'd like to remind the public that on our next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, November the 2nd at 3 p.m. And I need a mover and a seconder to move pursuant to section 91, put my glasses on, E and K of the Community Charter. Council proceed to a closed meeting to consider items relating to land and proposed provisions of municipal service. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Chandler, second by Councillor O'Brien. All those in favor? All right. Let's take 5 minutes so that we can get things set up and